Coming up, Mike and Jeanette find themselves in a muddy situation. Will the old girl cope? Mike and Jeanette have reached day 12 of their expedition, having successfully navigated their way through Botswana, Zambia, Tanzania, and are now in Kenya. The Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit has really done them proud by bringing them more than 6,000 kilometers from home without a major hitch. Mike and Jeanette make their way to the Sarova Shaba Lodge, north of Nairobi, where members of the Samburu tribe welcome them. In fact, they're literally jumping for joy to see them all. Mike and Jeanette, who are always game, try to join in, but just end up scaring the wildlife. The Silver Spirit team will spend 2 nights here, surrounded by the magnificent wild beauty and splendour of the bushveld. So how come Mike can still find something to complain about?
Now this is what happens to you when you're a driver of a Rolls-Royce and you've driven on a terrible road and you've suffered and they don't give you any beer. Now is that fair?
The driver's problem is caused by evaporation. He's so heated up after this drive on the dirt that one touch of the beer and woof it goes. But when I'm around, don't fear. There's a remedy near. If you turn behind you, slowly turn around and have a look.
And a drink is exactly what you need when you see the size of the crocs on the Waso-Ngiro River. This idyllic area is born-free country and was home to the great conservationists Joy and George Adamson. Joy was best known for her book Born Free, in which she described how she raised Elsa the lioness and successfully released her back into the wild. But sadly, on the other side of the coin, it is here in this very game reserve where Joy met her bloody end. Next stop, Shiwa Ngandu. Shiwa Ngandu has a fascinating history. Its name means Lake of the Royal Crocodiles, and it was founded by Sir Stuart Gore Brown back in 1921. Because Mike and Jeanette love anything historical, they decide to take a look around the place, which has been described by some as an African utopia. The estate is reminiscent of the grandeur and splendour of a bygone colonial era.
So he was the governor of St. Helena, New Zealand, Tasmania, and Bermuda. Brown used to move around quite a lot, and she was left here on her own. And after a while, she divorced him and went back to England. And that's Bright's great-grandfather. Bright, the man who's giving us tea today, he is the great-grandson of the man who used to work for Stuart Brown.
It's time now to see if the old girl needs a servicing, so to speak.
Well, somewhere along the dirt roads yesterday, the bolts must have come out from the front stone guards, which allowed it to droop a bit, and of course then it acts like a giant snowplough. It's just a case now of replacing these bolts, tightening it all up, and double-checking everything underneath to make sure everything's in good order. I've been through most of it and it seems fine, which is good to know, because we don't want any troubles tomorrow on the rough roads.
Most evenings are spent planning the next day's itinerary to make sure everybody's happy. All done over a glass of chilled Chardonnay, of course. It's much more civilised that way.
Thank you, Stormo.
On the way to Marsabit, a major challenge presents itself. The recent downpour has flooded the road ahead, and Roger's not sure if the rolls will make it, so he decides to go first, just in case. And what do you know? In true form, the old girl just sails along nicely, ignoring the fact that she is almost entirely submerged in muddy water. It's like she's the original amphibious car. How's the rolls holding up at this point?
Well, it was a bit of shake, rattle and rolls. It was getting a bit shaky and corrugated.
Jeanette holds on for dear life as the Silver Spirit battles some of the roughest roads in the north of Kenya. Mike is still singing her praises, though.
Can you believe you're in a Rolls Royce? Look at this.
The team's a bit peckish and decide to stop for a snack. But what's with the giraffes on the lead vehicle?
We've got a stone chip on the windscreen. There's a very good reason for having a giraffe on the bonnet of the Toyota, because the Rolls-Royce is a spirit of ecstasy. And we've got a pair of giraffes who don't know if they're coming or going. One does, the other was not sure.
A lot of confusion is, and I think I'm going to hand over to Jeanette, because a lot of people think the Silver Spirit is the mascot. This. That is actually not the Silver Spirit. What is it, Jeanette?
That is the emblem that goes on the front of the Rolls-Royce, and it's called the Spirit of Ecstasy. And she was a girlfriend of Lord Montague, and they were both on board ship, and the ship was torpedoed, and she drowned, and Lord Montague survived, but it was cast on her form. And you see that this is a kneeling one. She's on her knee. And there's also one where she's whispering. We looked after her right the way through. She's on the front of the rolls. And at night, sometimes we even covered her up just to keep her cozy.
So it's quite symbolic, really, being
Yes.
protective, protecting you on your journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe the team's been on the road for 15 days now, and everyone's still getting along. And it's always nice to bump into a fellow madcap adventurer.
African way. Where are you from?
We are from Russia. We are from Russia, from St. Petersburg, and we are going all the way down to South Africa. And after that, we hope to go to West Africa, and then back to North Africa, and then we go back home.
And the Van Ginkels thought they were far from home.
Well, the road between Isiola and Marsabit, Archer's Post and Marsabit, is nothing but a track. And it's a flat plain, and when it rains and floods, the track is gone. Only one point on the trip that we were not going anywhere, and that was in the north of Kenya. We got into rain, and the ground is black cotton soil. And the backup vehicle we had had the wrong tyres on it. And it literally slid off the road just standing there all by itself. That's how slippery it was.
And so it became a small matter of manpower to push, heave, push, heave, and push again to set the old girl free.
And it was the only moment on the whole trip that I turned around and went back the other way because we weren't going to make that part.
I'm called Mohammed Duba Kalicha. I was born and brought up here in Marsabit. I used to bring tourists here around to see this crater called Gofaredo. The tribe who lives in here is Boran, Gabra, Rindile, Burji, Konso, and other tribes from down Kenya.
And
there.
then he took us to a crater in Marsabit, where there's this huge crater, and right at the bottom of the crater you can actually see animals. And he took his cap off and he threw the cap into the crater and the wind just brings it back. Then he took his jacket off, threw that into the crater and the wind brought it back. Anyhow, we had drinks and sunset there and it was lovely. Gofaredo. Gofaredo crater, just north or south of Marsabit?
North of Marsabit.
North of Marsabit. Here, cheers.
At this stage, it appears that the tipple consumption is almost equal to fuel consumption. And yet the only thing that really goes to your head here is the breathtaking scenery.
We took refuge in a convent because we couldn't get to the Marsabit Lodge. And we woke up at about, once again, I woke up at 3, and we had breakfast at 6. And they were expecting us for breakfast at 6 because we said we would like it then. And that was also different because there we had sort of jaffle toast, the size, you know what jaffle is, jaffle toast, nothing in the middle, cold boiled eggs that were boiled the night before, and coffee.
We set off at about, must have been about 6:15 from the convent, said our goodbyes to the good sister, and it was like driving into Wonderland. It was thick mist, but just enough for you to be able to see. And the two cars going through the trees and the mist wafting it, it was just beautiful. It was like driving in amongst the clouds.
You know, the whole of Africa is a land of contrasts. I mean, coming through the mist, as Michael says, was so beautiful. And then sort of as the mist burns off, so you start getting these roads again.
It's this man's job to stop suspicious-looking vehicles. And when he realizes these are no bandits in these cars, he moves the tire deflation device out of the way, leaving the team free to continue on their journey through Kenya. The Silver Spirit team has now travelled over 7,000 kilometres. They're almost halfway there. And if all goes according to plan, they should reach their final destination, London, in 35 days or so. And anything can go wrong between now and then, but hopefully it doesn't. The roads can be lonely with only the occasional truck passing by.
Because they've got all the trucks going through Africa, and they've got huge wide tyres, they make ruts in the road so that you actually have to put one wheel on the outside and one wheel on the middle manaki, because otherwise your car would be hanging like that, because the middle manaki is about 50 centimetres high. So you have to put the two wheels and go over the ruts in the road like that.
It's a careful balancing act for the old girl, but by now Mike and Jeanette are pros at handling her.
And if you don't avoid them and you get into the middle, you get the middle monarchy scraping your bottom. It's like the car's bottom I'm talking about, not mine. Look, it wasn't all bad. Sometimes you could get up to 50 kilometers an hour. At other times,
sometimes if you went faster over the corrugations, it was better.
Yes.
It almost smoothed it out. You had to sort of set your speed.
And sometimes you had to drive off the road. It was easier than on the road. But we averaged about 20 kilometers an hour that day. But the one stage that we did, and I think we're talking between Marsabit and Miola, is only about 240 kilometers, but it took us, 10 hours.
It's impossible to take your eyes off the road even for a minute when the roads are this bad. In fact, there are corrugations as far as the eye can see. After a while, Roger realizes that the rolls is not behind them, so he does what anyone would do in times of stress. He eats.
The roller is slightly overdue. That means if they don't get here soon, they're going to miss their breakfast. I think we shall eat it all. But if they're not here in 15 minutes, we'll have to go back and look for them. Give us time to have a cup of coffee.
I remember one day in the north of Kenya, where it's very rugged and bandits and that sort of stuff. I went ahead by about 10 kilometers just to clear the way and stop and if there was a really bad thing. And I came across this huge rock in the middle of the road. The only rock in miles. And I thought to myself, no, I won't stop. You've got to see this rock. I mean, this rock is alone. Anyway, half an hour later, they hadn't turned up. I went back.
As team leader, Roger is responsible for their safety, so it's a bit of a concern when they're nowhere to be found. Eventually, Roger finds Mike and Jeanette.
We thought we had lost you. Puncture. What did you do?
I found the rock.
This thing popped out of the ground. It must have been hiding there, but it just popped out of the ground.
And they smashed the rock to pieces and the left front wheel, so...
And it was camouflage. It was sitting in camouflage.
But thank goodness Steve, the trusty mechanic, is along for the ride. He asks Mike to pull the car over so they can examine the damage.
But Steve saw it before I did. And he screamed at me. And I got a hell's fright and I jammed on the brakes and we hit the thing like that, you see, bang, straight on.
Oh, what's this driver been up to?
I think we saved the tyre.
That car's fine.
Hit it with a hammer to fix it.
Not a hammer, a tapulator. Rolls has got a tapulator.
Ach, yes, look at this. The balance weight got bent. This is a tragedy.
So, when in doubt, do it the old-fashioned way, with brute force.
It's mainly the lip rather than...
Half an hour later, she's good to go, and it's back on the road with all her bits and pieces working perfectly.
Beautiful, my little yellow flower. Okay, here they're farming rocks. Rocks and rocks and more rocks.
And spiders.
Everywhere you look. Where are the spiders? Rock spiders, no. And we don't have to change the number plates for Egypt because you can't read them in any case.
We say goodbye to the rock farms of Kenya and hello to a new country.
After Kenya,
We go into Ethiopia. And Ethiopia is completely different to Kenya.
this is, the border post is a little town called Moyola. And we arrived there at about 1:45. And they said, no, sorry, we're going to be on lunch for the next hour. Come back at 2:00. Now, this was really very warm at that time of the day, so we thought, well, we'll find a little cafe or something and have lunch. No such luck. We battled for about half an hour. Eventually, we found a cold Coke. So, having had our Coke, and this is one time that we usually traveled with the air conditioning on, but we were stopped now. But we actually got back into the car and started up the car so the air conditioning would work so that we could get a bit of relief from the terrific heat. So there we sat in Moyola for 15 minutes with the air conditioning full blast with 4 of us in it. What a relief.
Ethiopia is one of the oldest independent countries in the world, with records dating back to around 1000 BC, when the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon. It's also Africa's second most populous nation. Unfortunately, this wonderful country, steeped in history and culture, is now primarily remembered for the drought and famine of 1984. Now, 2 decades later, Mike and Jeanette get to see how things stand now and how much they've changed. After filling up, they hand over the local currency called birr. And then it's time for the old girl to show her undercarriage off in a rather undignified manner. She gets checked out by the boys, who are completely smitten with her as always. And after a few minor repairs, she's ready to rock and rolls.
It's an easy fix. We don't even need any spare parts really, just a little bit of welding. This is the local castle beer. It is a premium lager beer. Now let's see how it tastes. Not bad at all. I think I'll have another one.
In the next episode, Mike and Jeanette end up in the worst hotel in Africa.
The worst hotel in the whole of Africa.
We gave it the name of the Dead Arabs Inn. It was dreadful.
Mike and Jeanette rename their hotel in Ethiopia the Dead Arabs Inn. Once through the Ethiopian border post, Mike, Jeanette and the team have their first stop, and the intense heat calls for refreshments. Their way, of course.
It actually tastes damn good because it's cold. Delicious. Absolutely delicious.
Here we are sitting in the gutter, drinking our very fine Ethiopian lager. It's baie lekker. Oh. It is
absolutely stunning.
And we stayed at a little hotel right at the border post. I don't know what the name was, but we gave it the name of the Dead Arabs Inn. Oh! First of all, we inspected our rooms, and I went to inspect the other people's rooms just to make sure that I didn't have the worst. And they were all virtually the same. There was a shower and there was a toilet that was a hole just in the ground, and no YouTube or anything, so anything that was there just stayed there, and it wasn't a long drop. And the wash hand basin, I couldn't actually see for the dirt and grime. The bed was in dark colours so that you couldn't see the hohos and things. Poor old Koos, I really felt for him. When he went to sleep, he said he got his little hand towel and he sprayed some anti-shave or something, and he held it again because he thought that's the only way he could go to sleep. He could not take the smell. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he got up and he sat outside. He couldn't stand the...
Well, I noticed you laughing. It wasn't a joke for Koos. Poor old Koos.
And the United Nations people were just leaving at 3 o'clock, and they said, "Are you all right?" He said, "Well, yes, but I can't sleep in my room." She said, "You're not sleeping in room number 1, are you?" He said, "Yes, why?" "Oh," he said, 2 weeks ago, when the Arab traders came down from Sudan to buy camels, you know, they go into their rooms, they don't want any service or anything, they want to be left alone for 2 weeks. They go and do their trading, and they do a little bit of nuffies on the side and what have you, so you don't disturb them for 2 weeks. But one Arab was killed on the first night of his stay and was found 2 weeks later in room number 1, and they still haven't got rid of the stench. So the United Nations said they knew all about it. Nobody stays in room number 1. Shame, poor Koos, he had no sleep at all. So that's why it's called the Dead Man's Inn. Dead Arabs Inn. It was dreadful. We couldn't wait to get out of there.
By far the worst hotel we've ever had anything to do with.
And leaving the Dead Arabs Inn behind them, the team hit the road again.
I badly need a cup of coffee, and seeing that there was no breakfast, no water and electricity this morning, this is a suitable spot to stop and make coffee and have a rusk.
We decided we weren't going to have breakfast there. We had it in the back of our truck.
Luckily, I took some energy bars and, you know, those tutti frutti bars. I had 2,000 rands worth of those in the back of the Hilux, and we ate those for breakfast. It was fun. Oh dear.
The old girl's boot lock broke somewhere along the way, and so Roger, the toolman Pierce, decided to fix it once and for all. The tarred roads in Ethiopia are a huge improvement from those in the north of Kenya, and the team enjoys the smooth surfaces that make driving a pleasure. There is, however, still 1 or 2 rough patches. It takes some getting used to driving on the right-hand side of the road, but after enduring a night at the Dead Arabs Inn, the team can cope with just about anything. Jeanette and Mike take turns driving throughout the trip, and up to now they've covered over 8,000 kilometres. There's a brief moment of apprehension when a guard patrolling the bridge stops Mike and Jeanette. He tries to tell them that it's too dangerous for them to cross the bridge right now as a lorry is passing, and this dilapidated bridge will never take both their weight. And the language barrier is quickly overcome as they work out what he's trying to say, and it's possible he's averted a huge disaster. Construction of the new bridge is being built to the right of them. Pretty nice roads for Africa. Now and then Mike has to become a backseat driver to allow cameraman Koos to capture all the great scenery from the front. Then something on the side of the road piques Mike's interest.
It's a mobile anti-aircraft gun.
It's too light for a tank, and it's too thin. That arm is nothing.
Not a photo.
Having spent some time at the tank and navigating the roads in Ethiopia, Mike's worked up a bit of an appetite and he's just craving a good old hamburger.
They say they haven't got burgers. The only thing they haven't got is burgers. Ask them for something they haven't got. They haven't got any burgers. Isn't it?
You could say that, yes.
In Ethiopia, the money is called brr.
It's burr.
I'm going to show you a note. It's called brr.
The Rolls-Royce has proven, despite all odds, to be the ideal vehicle to travel Africa.
Now, Mike, you could have chosen any vehicle, so have you always been a Rolls-Royce fundie?
It's been my dream for a very long time. It goes back to my flying days with my father-in-law. He bought a Silver Shadow. And the day that he took delivery, we went along and had a look at this marvellous car. And much to my surprise, he said, Mike, have a drive around the block in it. And I went for a lovely drive. And I said, at that time, and I'm talking about 40 years ago, I said, one day, I'll have a Rolls Royce.
It's a real gem to drive, and if ever you've driven it, you'll want to drive it all the time. You don't drive it, it drives you. It's just a pleasure. It's wonderful. And I pay him 5,000 Rand a month not to park it outside my shop. So he's at least got money for petrol. And that's about what it costs.
Ethiopia is a country with a rich history, starting with the oldest known human ancestors, dating back about 5 million years.
So let's talk a little bit about the old girl, because we've been chatting about her a lot.
Oh, I must say, when you say old girl, it reminds me of a conversation we had with 702 one Friday afternoon. We'd had a little bit of difficulty with the shock absorber. I wanted Roger to explain, that he's now got everything fixed with the rolls, it's going fine again. And so she said, well, how's the old girl doing? So he said, no, she's doing all right, and the rolls is fine as well. So every time you say, old girl, I just sort of...
The left back shock bracket broke and has to be repaired by some local mechanics, and they do an amazing job putting the old girl back together. And we are talking about the car. But has nobody thought of giving her a good wash?
I want to say thank you very much to Bible for the wonderful service that you've given us today. All right.
There you go.
Have a nice trip.
Thank you very much.
A good journey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you also.
Here we're going to Addis Ababa. And we have to stay in Addis Ababa quite a while because of getting our Sudanese passports.
Visa.
Visas.
Because the team has 3 days to kill while waiting for their Sudanese visas, they decide that when the going gets tough, the tough goes shopping at the market in Addis Ababa, where almost everything is available. 1.7 million people live here in the capital city. It's the vibrant hub in Ethiopia, with many of them making a living as street vendors and entrepreneurs. Addis Ababa is also the headquarters of the United Nations Economic Commissioner for Africa. Mike, as you enter Sudan, how many days into the trip are you now?
I think we are about now number 23, day 23. That's from the time we left Cape Town.
But that seems like months ago. So much. It really does. It seems like 2 months ago.
Behave, Michael, behave.
And remember, we've all started driving on the wrong side of the road now. We're driving on the right-hand side of the road, not the correct-hand side of the road, the right-hand side.
Which of course is not always that easy during peak time traffic.
We couldn't get our visas before we left because they wanted a period of 30 days. So we had to get them in Addis Ababa at the Sudanese. And we got there on Thursday and we handed them in. And we said, can we collect them on Friday? No, Friday is a holiday in all the Muslim countries.
Everyone looks less than impressed around here.
But they are open on Saturday, so can we come and get them? No, you can get them on Monday afternoon.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Well, now you can't get them on Monday afternoon and start off your journey in the afternoon. So we had a long stay at the Hilton Hotel in Addis Ababa.
2 adventure carriers coming. I'm so happy. Very well.
And who can complain when you're staying in 5-star luxury like the Hilton? Mike takes the opportunity to tell the manager of the Hilton the story of the Dead Arabs Inn.
John, we've had a very successful trip so far. Up to Nairobi, the roads were not too bad, except for a few very bad potholes in Botswana. But after that, we've had a pretty horrendous road between Marsabit and Moyela. And there in Moyela, we stayed in a hotel that was on the border of this country, Ethiopia and Kenya. We stayed in a hotel which is positively the worst hotel I have ever experienced in my life.
We've got a 3-day delay at the moment because of the procedures and the bureaucratic procedures in getting Sudanese visas in Addis. Unfortunately, we hit the weekend where they closed, so we are stuck here until collecting our visas at 3 o'clock on Monday.
You were also receiving goodwill messages through the website.
Yes.
Do you remember any? Was that quite comforting on the journey?
And we got the occasional call.
Well, I must tell you, my cell phone for the first month was 16,000 Rand because the sat phone wasn't working properly.
But unfortunately, you see, the sat phone was capable of sending things through for the website, like photos and that sort of thing. And in fact, we never really got it working properly at all. We made 1 or 2 calls on it. We did find that the hotels, like the Hilton and the bigger hotels, had what you call
Computer
business
rooms,
centres,
yeah.
computer centres where we could get stuff through.
I'm sitting in the Hilton Hotel in the executive suite and I'm reading the daily paper. Now this is very interesting because they've still got the old calendar. They haven't adapted themselves to the Julian calendar. The time is actually not our time, which is 20 to 1. It's actually 20 to 9 in their time. So it's all very confused when you get to Ethiopia because they haven't adapted to our way of thinking.
One more gave me a very big prize. And you the expensive one.
What?
I know they won't give us half price for you.
Why am I expecting? It's the internet.
I must tell you that the Hilton's a beautiful hotel in Addis, and they treated us very well.
After the break, Roger loses it completely with one of the team members.
Five lashes per minute. What do you make that?
The whole team getting along at this point, you're not getting on each other's nerves. I mean, it's a long time to be in a group.
Still in half-past.
What did Roger say?
Roger said it's not the first time he's going to leave somebody behind. And it's not the second time. But I don't know what's happening.
What's happened to Mark?
He's not well. He's going to be worse when I find him. Better not make the mistake of saying I was up all night sending emails.
We got over it.
5 lashes per minute. What do you make that? That's 11.55 lashes. That's even before we get in the car. Yesterday.
I just saw they want me to play.
And then the culprit arrives with an excuse as to why he's so late.
I don't know, that's supposed to all been settled. I haven't used anything. But it's 300
Oh,
per.
Yeah, give me a can.
I'll just throw it
Where's
in.
your handbag?
Thanks, can you just load that?
A rather sheepish Mark makes a mad dash to settle his hotel bill.
The next doctor who comes late here is going to have his bloody legs cut off, that I can tell you. Put a beep in if you like. I mean, the rest of us make a bloody effort to get up. Huh? You think somebody else could do it? But no, we're up all night pissing it up. Last time.
Back on the road, there's a wee bit of tension remaining as they enter a new part of the city.
In 750 meters, bear left.
The team is now halfway to their final destination, London, and one can only hope that they remain in good spirits for the rest of the journey and that the wheels don't come off, both figuratively and literally. And as this was Mike's first visit to Ethiopia, I wanted to find out more about his perceptions of the country.
Lots and lots of people, and animals and things like that, but it's wondrous how did they make a living in this country?
You wonder if you can comprehend 90 million people, but when you see it, in the amount of people we come across, just walking along the road, you can believe it.
And when the old girl makes an entrance, she turns a few heads in the process. And with all the attention she's been getting, it looks like she's turning into a bit of a prima donna.
This is a blue school. Just look at that cursor.
Now we're just passing through one of hundreds of little villages, and there is, for about the last 3 kilometers, there's been just a complete throng of thousands of school kids. They all wear a certain color uniform in each village. But this has been the scene since we entered Ethiopia.
But in spite of that, the people seem to be happy.
Ethiopia has often been called the origin of humankind due to various humanoid fossil discoveries. In fact, famous Lucy is preserved at the Ethiopian National Museum. It's hard to believe that the team's been on the road for 25 days now and have travelled more than 8,000 kilometres. They have traversed 5 countries so far with varying landscapes and people, And so far, nothing has deterred them from achieving their goal, which is to reach London within 60 days. The Silver Spirit is holding out beautifully and hasn't given an ounce of trouble on this trip, which is more than we can say for Mark, the medic. Welcome to the Goha Hotel. Let's hope no dead Arabs have checked out recently.
You short on fuel, Mike?
Absolutely dead empty. Lights full on, staying on, permanent on.
South Africa seems like a distant memory as they approach a lookout point with the most spectacular views of the ancient city of Gonda.
But this town would become the government base during the hot summer months. They'd move up here into the hills of the mountains.
And a beautiful view, really very nice.
And as another exciting day draws to a close, the team finds the one thing that will bond them forever: a good hearty toast to life and all its magnificent adventures.
It was just such a lovely adventure. It just kept on going. Every day was a different day.
Will the old girls survive the desert heat?